Have you ever wondered how a seemingly normal family life can spiral into a nightmare of obsession and violence? In this episode of True Crime Documentary, we delve into a chilling case where a stepson's forbidden affair turned deadly, leading to a shocking murder. How did the quiet town of Somerville become the backdrop for such a horrific crime? Let's unravel the details and uncover the secrets behind this tragic story. Lily Harper was 38 years old, an accomplished artist who had found her place in the tight-knit community of Somerville. Her sculptures and paintings, often inspired by the surrounding landscapes of South Carolina, had gained her local fame. Known for her gentle nature and creative mind, Lily was adored by friends and family alike. She was the kind of person who lit up a room, and her artwork reflected the beauty she saw in the world around her. Lily met John Harper, a retired naval officer, at one of her gallery exhibitions. Despite a 20-year age gap, the two quickly fell in love and married within a year of meeting. John, reserved and structured from his military background, found Lily's free-spiritedness refreshing. She brought color into his life, and they settled into what seemed like a harmonious marriage. But beneath this idyllic picture was a growing tension. John had a son, Ryan, from a previous marriage. Ryan had been just a young boy when his mother passed away, and he never fully recovered from her loss. By the time Lily entered the family, Ryan was 18 and emotionally adrift, struggling to find his place in the world. His relationship with his father had always been strained, more a result of discipline than affection. When Lily became a part of their lives, things only became more complicated. Ryan Harper was a troubled young man. His mother's death left a void that neither his father nor anyone else could fill. He had grown up feeling abandoned, misunderstood, and angry at the world. His father's strict and distant parenting style did little to soothe his emotional wounds. Over time, this inner turmoil festered, and Ryan began acting out, skipping school, getting into trouble, and isolating himself from those around him. When Lily came into the picture, Ryan's feelings became even more conflicted. On one hand, he resented her for taking his mother's place. On the other hand, he found himself inexplicably drawn to her. She was warm, kind, and caring, the opposite of the relationship he had with his father. While Lily tried to build a bridge between herself and Ryan, hoping to create a sense of family, Ryan couldn't see her as just his stepmother. He began to develop an unhealthy fascination with her. At first, it was just a crush, a feeling Ryan dismissed as harmless. But as time passed, those feelings grew into something darker and more obsessive. Ryan would watch Lily from afar, imagining scenarios where they could be together, where his father was no longer in the picture. He began to internalize the belief that Lily felt the same way about him, even though she never gave any indication of this. As Ryan's obsession with Lily grew, so did his resentment toward his father. John, unaware of the deep emotional turmoil festering within his son, continued his rigid approach to parenting. Ryan saw his father as an obstacle, someone standing in the way of what he believed could be a romantic relationship with Lily. Meanwhile, Lily remained oblivious to the extent of Ryan's feelings. She continued her efforts to reach out to him, hoping that time and patience would eventually soften the walls Ryan had built around himself. She would invite him to join her in the art studio, ask about his day, and try to include him in family activities. But every interaction, every smile she gave him, only fueled Ryan's misguided belief that she had feelings for him. John and Lily's relationship, on the other hand, remained strong. The two shared a deep bond, and Lily frequently expressed her love for her husband. This dynamic only intensified Ryan's jealousy. In his mind, John was the one thing keeping him and Lily apart. The tension in the house reached a boiling point. Ryan became more withdrawn, spending long hours locked in his room or wandering the town aimlessly. He started skipping meals with his father and Lily, offering nothing but curt replies when spoken to. While John chalked it up to teenage rebellion, Lily sensed that something was wrong, but she had no idea just how dark Ryan's thoughts had become. One fateful evening, Ryan made a decision that would forever change their lives. He convinced himself that the only way to be with Lily was to eliminate his father. In his twisted mind, this was the only solution to the problem that had consumed him. Ryan's plan started with simple fantasies, but as time went on, those fantasies became more detailed and violent. He began imagining scenarios where John would simply disappear, either through an accident or something far more sinister. In his mind, once his father was gone, Lily would finally be free to love him. The tension in the house was palpable, but Lily remained focused on her art. She was preparing for an upcoming exhibit where she would showcase a new series of sculptures. She spent long hours in her studio, pouring her energy into her work. Little did she know that Ryan was watching her every move, his obsession deepening with each passing day. On the morning of September 12th, 2012, the quiet town of Somerville awoke to what seemed like another ordinary day. Lily had plans to spend the day in her backyard studio, working on her latest sculptures. John was away on a business trip, leaving Lily and Ryan alone in the house. Ryan had decided that this would be the day. He could no longer bear the thought of Lily being with his father, and he was convinced that if he confronted her, she would confess her love for him. But when the moment came, things didn't go as Ryan had imagined. Lily was in her studio, deeply focused on her work, when Ryan entered. He began talking to her, his voice unsteady. At first, Lily didn't notice the change in his tone, but soon the conversation took a dark turn. Ryan confessed his feelings for her, telling her that he had been in love with her for years and that they could finally be together now that John was gone. Lily, shocked and horrified by what Ryan was saying, tried to calm him down. She explained that his feelings were wrong, that she loved John and could never feel the way Ryan did. But Ryan couldn't accept this. In his mind, Lily was supposed to choose him, and her rejection sent him into a violent rage. In a fit of uncontrollable anger, Ryan grabbed one of Lily's sculptures, a heavy, blunt piece, and attacked her. The peaceful studio, once filled with creativity and beauty, became the scene of a brutal murder. It wasn't until later that morning when Lily's friend and neighbor, Emma Richards, arrived for their usual morning coffee chat that the horror was discovered. Emma, a crime writer, knocked on the door but received no answer. Figuring Lily was in her studio, she made her way to the backyard, where she noticed something was wrong. The door to the studio was slightly open, and the quiet that hung in the air felt heavy. Emma stepped inside, and what she found would haunt her forever. Lily's lifeless body lay on the floor, surrounded by broken pieces of her artwork. Blood was splattered across the room, and the air was thick with the aftermath of violence. Shaking, Emma dialed 911, her voice barely steady as she described the horrific scene. Detectives Alex Lawson and Sarah Miller were among the first to arrive at the scene. What they found was shocking, a brutal crime that didn't seem random. The violence was personal, intimate. They knew from the start that this wasn't the work of an outsider. The crime had happened inside the home, and the evidence pointed to someone close to Lily. The police initially questioned John Harper, who was devastated when he received the news of his wife's death. His alibi, however, was rock solid. John had been out of town, caught on hotel security cameras at the time of the murder. With John cleared, the detectives turned their attention to Ryan. As they began interviewing those who knew the family, a disturbing picture began to emerge. Ryan's behavior in the weeks leading up to the murder had been erratic. Neighbors recalled seeing him pacing outside the house late at night, and some even mentioned his increasingly hostile attitude toward his father and Lily. But it wasn't until detectives searched Ryan's room that they found the most damning evidence. Letters, dozens of them, written by Ryan to Lily. The letters were filled with declarations of love, fantasies about a life together, and chilling thoughts about his father standing in the way. Ryan had never sent the letters, but they painted a disturbing picture of his mental state. Confronted with the overwhelming evidence, Ryan eventually confessed to the murder. He admitted that he had been obsessed with Lily and was unable to handle the rejection. The confession was heartbreaking in its brutality and desperation. Ryan revealed that the day before the murder, he had been planning his actions, believing he could somehow force Lily to see him as more than just a stepson. His rage, combined with his obsession, led him to commit the unthinkable. Ryan's trial was a media sensation. The small town of Somerville, known for its close-knit community and peaceful demeanor, was rocked by the revelation of such a heinous crime committed by one of its own. The trial was a spectacle, drawing attention from local and national news outlets. The media coverage painted a vivid picture of the tragedy, with headlines focusing on the shocking details of the case. During the trial, the courtroom was filled with emotional testimonies from those who knew Lily. Friends and family members spoke about her kindness, her artistic talents, and the impact her death had on their lives. John Harper, though relieved that his stepson was being held accountable, was devastated by the loss of his wife and the betrayal of his own flesh and blood. Ryan's defense team argued that his actions were the result of severe emotional and psychological trauma, attempting to mitigate the impact of his crime. They presented evidence of Ryan's troubled past, including his struggles with grief and his tumultuous relationship with his father. However, the prosecution countered by emphasizing the premeditated nature of the crime and the extensive planning that went into the murder. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, Ryan Harper was found guilty of first-degree murder. The verdict was met with mixed emotions from the community. While many felt justice had been served, the sense of loss and sorrow lingered. Lily Harper's death had left an indelible mark on Somerville, a town forever changed by the tragic events that unfolded within its borders. The case of Lily Harper is a stark reminder of how deeply personal conflicts and unspoken emotions can lead to catastrophic outcomes. It highlights the dangers of unaddressed psychological issues and the impact they can have on those around us. Ryan Harper's actions were driven by a combination of unresolved grief, obsession, and a distorted perception of reality. His inability to cope with his emotions and his misguided beliefs ultimately led to a senseless tragedy. Lily's story also underscores the importance of communication and support within families. Despite her efforts to connect with Ryan and build a relationship, the underlying issues remained unresolved. The tragedy that befell her serves as a sobering reminder of the potential consequences when emotional and psychological struggles are left unaddressed. In the wake of the trial, the Harper family's story became a point of reflection for many. The community of Somerville came together to mourn the loss of Lily and support each other in the aftermath of the tragedy. The memory of Lily's vibrant spirit and her contributions to the local art scene continued to live on, even as the community grappled with the scars left by the events. Ryan Harper was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentence reflected the gravity of his crime and the profound impact it had on those affected. His future was forever altered by his actions, and he would spend the rest of his life grappling with the consequences of his choices. As we reflect on the tragic story of Lily Harper, we are reminded of the complexities of human emotions and the potential for darkness that can lurk beneath seemingly ordinary surfaces. Lily's life was cut short by an unimaginable act of violence, but her legacy lives on through the memories of those who knew and loved her. Her story serves as a poignant reminder of the need for understanding, empathy, and open communication in our relationships. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay tuned